Hello and welcome to another episode of The Zoo. Today, Chris and Jeff and I are going over our 2015 predictions, from how fast things are going to go to how quickly it's going to crash. Welcome to The Zoo, Chris.
Thanks very much. Happy New Year, everyone.
And hi there, Jeff. How are things down in LA?
They're wonderful. Happy New Year as well.
Let's start with you, Jeff. You've been pondering this now for a while. What are the top 3 trends for 2015 from an IT perspective? And I'm sure you can share with the audience your view, your perspective. But let's start with number 3. Which one is the least exciting trend that you think is going to happen in 2015, but still going to be big enough to be discussed?
Analytics. That's number 1 trend on most people's. Isn't analytics always one of the number 1 trends in IT? And that's why I think it's the most boring. Because is it really analytics, or is it just reporting off of the information that we're sitting with? Is it non-predictive reporting, or is it actually analytics that will predict something?
Do you think this is going to continue to grow? We're going to see more big data analytics. Is that forever going to haunt us as a top trend every year?
Yeah, I think big data is going to consistently haunt us. And is it really big data when these analytics and reporting tools can kind of only look after small data?
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, I agree with that. Data was in my top 3, but for a different reason. I decided one of the tech trends for 2015 was that those who had a formal education in computer science at a certain point in time will no longer understand the industry they're employed in. So that's one of my predictions. Maybe it's personal. It's clearly my own limitations. But I was reading a prediction about data as a service and decided I didn't really understand it. And I'm very conscious of the fact that it's me and obviously not them. Yeah, I couldn't even parse the sentence about what data as a service was all about, and I thought that the whole ad as a service concept seems to be disappearing up itself rapidly, and I didn't really understand that. But evidently, people are trying to make new business models from the provision of data. Traditional vendors, the provision of data sets about their own applications, and then people who can help you make sense of that data, also creating new business models around the analytics and the creation of actual intelligence. I think things have got to such a level of abstraction now, by which I mean that we're so far decoupled from the underlying technology that there's new things and new ways of doing things coming out that I don't fully understand, and I worry about the implications of them, because when you get to that level of abstraction, it gets unpredictable and complex, and I know that's something that's been exercising Jeff's mind as well, complexity and
yeah. I think your as a service that we've been bombarded with for the past few years of so-and-so or something as a service is now replaced with Internet of Things that we had 5 to 8 years ago. So it just made it a little more vague and a little bit more abstract for you, Chris.
Yes, that's right.
Another prediction. Start with you, Jeff. What else do you got up your sleeve?
Robotics. We're not going to have to do anything anymore as humans. Robots are just going to take over.
Do you mean we're going to have those in our homes ourselves, or is this more a commercial play, or?
No, the robots are going to be now embedded into driverless cars. So you're going to have a driverless car concept, but you're going to have a robot supposedly driving it.
Like Total Recall with Schwarzenegger in it. Okay.
Yeah, like, why would you need a robot driving a wireless or a driverless car? It makes no sense.
What do you think about robots, Chris?
Well, this will come as a huge shock to you. I think it's terrible. I think it's. I think we are starting to realize things that were purely theoretical when I was educated in this domain 25 years ago. And even back then, we started, and long before that, I mean, people like Asimov, came out with the laws of robotics, and all kinds of had thought way ahead of what it means to have something that's getting really quite smart, and more than that, that has control over something that's safety critical. What does that mean from an ethical perspective and a standards perspective and a control perspective, etc., etc. So I'm disappointed in two ways. I'm disappointed that we kind of have a strange obsession with seconding humanity somehow to a perpetual life of supervision. So I don't like that. But also I have a concern that once again we haven't thought it through. And that's my view on robotics. Until I find one that I like, of course, in a truly hypocritical style.
Until one can do your laundry and do the dishes.
Exactly.
And then, Jeff, you had another one that's very interesting. Something about error-prone world.
For the luggage?
No, for your predictions.
I have the what?
Didn't you have
complexity and errors?
Yes.
Oh, error prone. Oh, sorry, I think they said error prone.
My accent.
Arrow as line. Yeah, so error. So I think the Internet of Things, since we've actually come across the Internet of Things this year in 2015, and any 1.0 version of anything is just going to be error prone. So the Internet of Things this year is just going to be chock full of errors, and we're going to be spending the entire year fixing the Internet connections to find the things.
You two are very, very happy people. You know that, right?
the pessimistic zoo.
I prefer the realism as a concept. I think that's healthier. Actually, Internet of Things was one of my top 3 as well. And again, it won't surprise you, I had a similar viewpoint there. It feels like a whole other thing we haven't really thought through, and we've done a previous zoo on that, and I expressed that opinion then, and I still think it's true. I think when systems get as big and complex and diverse as the thing that we are mindlessly building, it gets very hard to understand what it is that you've built, much less keep it going, as Jeff said, when things break, and they will. But also that level of complexity invites all kinds of new things that we haven't, new failure modes that we haven't encountered. And I think if any of that Internet of Things is safety critical or somehow open to connection by other devices or people, it's gonna get interesting.
It is, yeah. So, to sum up Jeff's one, this is an error-prone world with Internet of Things, robotics, and analytics. And Chris, you said yours were very much echoing what he had. How would you sum up your 3?
Yeah, very well. I mean, you can't avoid big data and data-driven stories. Obviously, I'd come across this concept of data as a service in my top 3, very closely related to analytics.
Although you don't really understand what it's about.
Don't really understand it, and I realise that's my limitation. I know there's someone under the age of 30 watching this going, yeah, obviously, I know exactly what that is. And I also, again, Internet of Things came up for me, but in a slightly different guise. In that I was concerned about what we were building from a complexity point of view, not just stability. So, and the other thing that did come up in my top 3 was this prediction that cloud service providers will be the new data center. And I didn't think that was much of a prediction. I thought that was pretty much where certainly a lot of the organizations that I've spoken to in recent times, that seems to be their working assumption, actually, particularly in the application tier. An awful lot of organizations are going cloud first. And what's interesting is they were predicting they'd be in that state by 2015 when we first started having these kind of conversations 4 or 5 years ago, and most of them are. So,
hey, when I was in web hosting, we thought we were going to be like that sometimes in the mid-90s. So, yeah, it's taken. It's a good time.
Yeah, well, that's true.
But I think it's a good prediction. I think it's about time we accept that that's sort of where we're heading. I'm going to leave you this. I know you haven't prepared for this, but if it's the end of something, one thing each, the end of skateboards, of Wi-Fi, of red tape, or privacy, what do you think comes to mind?
Ooh. It's the end of beards. It's
End
the
of
end
who?
of beards. It's the end of this ridiculous trend for hugely long facial hair.
Okay, I got you.
I'll tell you that for a start. The end of privacy, that's a really interesting conversation. I predict that we will try to, or the industry and those interested in that kind of thing will try to tell us it's the end of privacy, and I predict we will see some kind of privacy backlash and a move towards less open platforms for a certain generation.
Excellent. Jeff, bar is too high.
End of the world. Can't go higher than that. End of the world.
I think
Our robots are going to become superhuman and wipe out the human race, and that's the end of the world as we know it. That's my prediction for 2050. We'll have some really great cloud applications.
So robots and great cloud applications will come and take over.
I hope not. I've just insulated the shed. That'd be a waste of my money if that's true.
No, you know what I, not the end of, but I think it's, well, kind of the end of this distinction between historic on-premise and new age cloud. I think those two are going to blend together. You're going to really actually see this hybrid world come out, and it's going to be hybrid in the sense that it's going to be sort of irrelevant where you are these days. It's just going to be, you're going to be in the cloud, you're going to be on premise, and it's not going to really matter. You're not going to really notice the distinction between the two.
The hybrid is the new black.
Yeah, we've talked about it obviously for a long time, and there really have been two distinct worlds for us. But now I think those worlds are colliding, and nobody's going to know where they are if they're stuck in on premise somewhere, or they're stuck in the cloud.
Excellent. Well, yeah, my one prediction is really is a combination of, I looked at wearables. I think that's a big thing that you guys didn't talk about, but I think that age has come. I think robots and drones are here, but what does that mean? I think it's a new golden era of service delivery, not IT service delivery. Chinese food, laundry, business services, various stuff like that. I think with the same guys who crashed and burned with Webvan are putting together something called Instacart, and they have a new business model around that. I think that type of service delivery, very affordable, very easy to access, at least in large cities, will start to really take off. I think Uber opened up the door a bit. They're even doing food deliveries now. I think those type of things. Because if you look at the next generation of parents coming up, don't really see them trying to raise the family in the same methods we sort of inherited from the 50s. So I think that changes a business model. I think that'll be interesting thing. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for coming and watch the zoo again. We'll talk to you in a bit. Bye-bye.